Good morning, and welcome to the final day of February, March the 28th. Can you believe it? The weather today, actually, it's on a bit on the turn at the moment. I must admit, yesterday was absolutely fantastic. We had lovely blue skies. It was absolutely gorgeous. I've been looking at the Greek weather, but I don't know usurp Amanda at the moment. But the Greek weather is showing that we're about to get a mega turn in weather, especially across the Ionian and the Peloponnese. And as you can see, we've got some ominous looking clouds up there in the sky. We are forecast to get a lot of rain. And in the north of the country, they're actually forecast for more snow at the moment. So there you go. Absolutely crazy weather going on at the moment. So there you go, looking across Amber Lockerbie and also down towards Kerry. Ominous clouds in the skies. Not looking good. Chickens are milling about. It's like, what do you call it, the birds at the moment. Waiting for them to all show up. And then as we look down the back of the house towards Kalamaki and also down towards Lagana, again we've got clouds, but the clouds are starting to move over. Actually, when I was first ran here a couple of minutes ago, the clouds are actually obscuring the sun, but they have moved slightly. So yeah, looking towards town, which is in that direction, the clouds are going down in that way, and then looking towards Sillavi in that direction and the north of the island, it looks like again it's not going to be too hot up there. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. I'll look forward to seeing what Amanda's weather forecast is. There goes Yanni, our landlord. He's off on his daily business somewhere. And yeah, so there you go. That's a look at the weather, and it's looking very ominous at the moment. Right, look, and there's a chicken on the balcony. What's she doing, my darling? Shall we quickly feed the chickens? Or could that be madness happening? We're just gonna get something for the chickens. I can see a weather forecast coming up. Come on then, darling. Come on. Come for it. Come on. Hey, come on. What's this? Hey, come on. Are we coming? There we go. Are we coming? There we go. Oh, you're a little bit shy, aren't you? You're not quite sure about feeding from the hand, are you? So I'll pop that down there for you. You get on with your breakfast and we'll crack on with the news. Anyway, Amanda says, morning Ginge, cloudy with sunny intervals, highs of 18 degrees, sharp pleasant breeze. Have a good day. You can say that about a sharp pleasant breeze. Oh look, Jane's even brought me a tea out, bless her. Because at the moment it is just turning just a little bit chilly. So I've actually put a jacket on because it was just that bit chilly. Right, let's have a quick look at the news. I've got to be honest, there's a lot of things going on at the moment. It's been a funny kind of news, actually, to be quite honest. But anyway, I shall crack on, first of all, as we always do, with the stats. But just to remind you, don't forget, if you want to book yourself accommodation here on Zakynthos for the season whenever it gets started, Dennis is still taking bookings. He's extended his special offer for Magdalena's Bar up until the 31st of March. All right, so to the end of March, you can still book yourself accommodation at Magdalena's apartments. Get in touch with Dennis via the Facebook page or via the Magdalena's website, magdalenastudios.gr, and you can obviously do your booking there with him. I'm not taking the bookings, by the way. All right, you need to speak to Dennis. Right, okay. So, COVID in the last 24 hours in Greece. At the moment, the press have been, the national stats have been looking interesting, actually. Our infection rate is down from the other day. We did have an infection rate of 1,790. It's gone down slightly to 1,630 new infections recorded across Greece in the last 24 hours. That brings the grand total since we've had the pandemic up to 189,831 people have been infected over that period of time since last year. Remembering yesterday was the first anniversary of the pandemic actually making its way here to Zakynthos. Anyway, there were 5 new cases identified at entry points into the country. That was down on the previous day where there were 6. According to the national statistics, which is interesting, Lefkada, who's in yellow at the moment, they had 9 new cases. Kefalonia, who are in red at the moment, they had 5 new cases. Corfu, who's also in yellow, like we are, they had 7 new cases. Now, Zakynthos has reported 4 new cases, but I have a feeling that that is now catch up with the national figures into what's going on here on the ground. So we've had no new cases reported here yesterday in the last 24 hours. But I do know that the cases we had yesterday, which was 4, they've obviously now gone into the national stats. So now at the moment we should be on our proper number at the moment. Anyway, just to remind you then, Zakynthos has had 101 positive cases since the beginning of the year. And for the month of February, we've had 66 cases for that month of COVID infection. So again, we're going to see what March is going to bring, and we'll also keep an eye on the figures there as well. As for deaths, deaths have actually stabilised, believe it or not. Yesterday, I reported 29 new deaths across Greece. And today, again, 29 new deaths across Greece, bringing the total up to 6,468. The average age of those people passing away is 79 years of age, and 96% of those had underlying health problems or were over the age of 70. And just to put that in context, the average daily death rate in Greece in 2019, well before COVID had ever reared its head, was about 329 cases a day. So there you go. And as for Zakynthos, we've only had 1 death this year, and that was a few weeks ago, and that was a lady of 70, if I remember rightly, and that brings us to the only death we've had for COVID this year here on Zakynthos. And at the moment, in critical cases now, critical cases, unfortunately, they've gone up again across Greece, people in the ICUs. Yesterday I did report to you 371. Well, today it's now 379 people are in ICUs across the country, 269 male, 110 female. The average age of those in ICUs is 68 years of age, and 86% of those have underlying health issues or are over the age of 70. So there you go. That is the stats at the moment here across Greece. Now, as I said, yesterday was the first anniversary of the pandemic actually arriving in Greece, with the first case of somebody actually being discovered having COVID. And so obviously you can imagine the press have been really giving this a big play in the Greek media. However, I've really just concentrated on our local media on that. As in the president of the Medical Association and vice president of the Panhellenic Medical Association, Pavlos Kapsabelis, sees a final improvement in relation to the pandemic of coronavirus actually not probably happening until April. Anyway, he was speaking to Hermes Radio yesterday on the anniversary of the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. He also stressed once again that regardless of whether our island is in the red or in the orange, the measures should be observed with great care and without relaxation. He says the problem is the vaccination concerns the country as a whole and not Zakynthos in particular. He said it is positive that we switched to orange, because remember we were in the red for a while, but people relax very easily, and I consider that this is our responsibility. That is of the experts and the members of the committee for the ministry, of which he is part of. Anyway, one day they talk about tough measures and the next about the prospect of the market opening up, with the results that citizens are confused, which is very true indeed. However, the measures by citizens must be observed, and it is not possible for the vast majority to wear a mask on the chin for decorative reasons or for fear that it will fall under the control of the police, and stress that the president of the Medical Association claiming that individual responsibility remains great, especially during the period when we are in a period of the outbreak of the virus. So basically what he's been saying, people have been playing the game. Yes, if you're going to wear your mask, wear it properly. Don't just put it under your chin, because either you can quickly whip it up when the police turns up, etc. So again, we know people are doing that. I'm guilty of doing that myself. We're more worried about getting fined than we are about catching the virus. However, on the other token, we do want to see things reopen and try and get ourselves back to some remnants of normality. He also says as well, masks, antiseptics and distancing will be needed for a long time. He also said, noting that the situation will improve as the temperatures rise, which is something that a lot of people are forgetting. The virus does not like the heat. The virus will dissipate during the summer months. That's probably one of the reasons why we didn't have a great deal of virus technically during the summer months last year, because obviously the weather affects it. However, what happens is at the end of the season, the weather starts to chill, things start to go colder again, start to get cooler again. And again, of course, we'd be technically starting to go into a flu season in the old days. Who's to say that that's not going to happen towards the end? So just as soon as it all seems to recede, it all then starts to flare up again. And then the mania will probably restart again with lockdown, which is something that we do not want. But anyway, we've got the vaccines by then, and we'll see how the vaccine reiterates things. Anyway, he also said, again, regarding the vaccines, he reiterated that the number of vaccines remains very small and certainly has nothing to do with the initial very optimistic forecasts of the Ministry of Health. Good to see he's criticising the ministry. Anyway, he says the primary healthcare sector, it should undertake the vaccinations. He said there are strong problems with and oligarchs to some extent. He said, arguing that hospitals should not be vaccination centres as the responsibility lies with the primary health sector, which needs to be strengthened. Now, by the primary health sector, he means basically your medical centres, your medical clinics, where, in fact, he's quite right. They should be actually being able to do more. For some reason, the hospital seems to be the place, because I think it's a shortage of vaccine at the moment. We haven't had enough vaccine arrive here on the island, and so it's been easier to vaccinate people up in the hospital, where again they've got the fridges as well, because some of the vaccines obviously need to be stored at a very low temperature, although that is one little niggly thing that has been worked out with the AstraZeneca. Now they've discovered that whatever they've done to it, it doesn't need to be stored as a lower temperature it is. But he is right. We should get vaccination centres up and running, and as soon as they are up and running, obviously we need the vaccine first to be able to crack on. Anyway, he also said, according to Mr. Kapsabelis, it has now been ensured that the vaccine is not dangerous. Vaccines should be done in primary health care facilities and clinics. Hospitals must be relieved of this burden. I understand the need for the psychological reasons to get the first vaccines in the hospitals, but now there is no fear. Vaccines belong to the primary healthcare, but they must be properly organised and staffed. He said, if a well-organised primary healthcare, we would have a lower burden on hospitals and fewer cases. Regarding the vaccination of people over 60, he said, of age, he noted that the iteration of the procedure is due to the fact that there is no vaccine at the moment. We're still waiting for vaccine. Anyway, he also said the reasons for the delays throughout Greece is the fact that we do not have a large quantity of vaccines. Any amount that comes is obviously absorbed, and it's probably sent to areas like Attica and Thessaloniki, where they've got a higher rate up there. Responsibilities are shared between the pharmaceutical companies. This is the reason for not having enough vaccine, and the relevant EU institutions, as well as the handling of national governments and member states. He said if we had more vaccine, we would have more centres and more citizens vaccinated. He also said, while for Zakynthos, he noted, there is a problem in central planning. There is no reason why vaccine is missing, especially on our island. Anyway, AstraZeneca covered some vaccination centres and not all vaccination centres. Obviously, Zakynthos was among those who did not get it. And if you remember yesterday, the local MP made a big play to say that he personally had spoken to the Minister of Health, and his Minister of Health mate was going to make sure that within the next 10 days, vaccine was going to arrive here on the island, and it was going to be the AstraZeneca, probably, that would ride here on the island. But don't forget the wording used by the MP, as all politicians. The word is should. It should arrive in 10 days, all right? Not will, but should. But anyway, we'll keep an open mind on that. We will see if the vaccine arrives in 10 days. Anyway, Mike actually just made a quick comment there. I couldn't help but notice it says typical Zakynthos to be a problem. Yes, we are a kind of a law unto ourselves. Anyway, he said finally, there is an issue with planning. That is done in general, he said, among other things. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that story anyway, and we'll see if we do get any the vaccine anyway within the next 10 days. Anyway, another interesting little story. The Hellenic Air Force were in last night with, yesterday morning, a C-130 was flown in. To pick up a pregnant woman who is having problems. She's in a twin pregnancy at the moment. She was rushed from the Zakynthos hospital down to the airfield where a C-130 aircraft was waiting for her. She was then taken on board to be flown away. In fact, she's going up to Efesina. I'm not exactly sure where that is, where she's going to be treated in the hospital over in that location. And obviously, we'll see how she gets on. All right. Anyway, all the best to her. At the moment, Zakynthos is in mourning this morning for the passing of quite a famous character here on the island. And he was a big player for a while in Zakynthos football. And he also has a son who's quite a famous football player as well. His name is Nikos Kallivokas. He was 63 years of age and he passed away yesterday. Nothing to do with COVID. He had other underlying health conditions and problems. And his passing is seen as a great loss to local football here on the island. He was also a big part of EPS Zakynthos. That's one of the teams here, as well as his son. He actually is a player for APS Zakynthos, and he is going to be missed. And so I know Dennis and the family will send their condolences. Jane and I send our condolences to the family. We've got a football pitch just around the back of where we live as well. And it's always quite nice, actually, on a Saturday or Sunday afternoons, hearing the noise coming from the football ground when things are normal. Also, a rather distressing Greek story as well at the moment, which highlights and sometimes is forgotten about the plight of the refugees here on Zakynthos. Well, it seems an 8-month pregnant woman, Afghani woman, who is on the island of Lesvos, and she's in one of the temporary migrant camps in there. Well, it seems that she set fire to herself on February the 21st as a form of protest. Anyway, she's now facing criminal charges of arson on herself and is also a pending trial. Anyway, the hearing took place at the hospital there on the island as Lesvos, where she's still being treated for burns to her arms, legs and back. The defence attorneys for the 27-year-old claimed that the charge of intentional arson should not be pressed upon her and are not substantiated. They stressed that the fire was immediately extinguished by other asylum seekers before the fire services arrived. It didn't spread to any other tents and no one else was placed in any harm's way. Now, the woman reputedly set herself on fire out of frustration after learning that her request for family relocation to Germany would be delayed. She told the court her family's relocation to Germany was her only ray of light. Anyway, so once again, let's not forget, Greece still has a big problem here with migrants coming. I know Britain at the moment is having problems with migrants, and we tend to forget that it starts here and it ends over in the UK. And so once again, Greece is doing what it can for the thousands of people who flock through here, who are trying to get over to where the UK is. Anyway, Also, as well, another little interesting story. I think this is a bit of a crime of passion involved in this one. A 33-year-old man was arrested on Friday on charges of drowning a dog in the sea on the central Aegean island of Skiathos. Anyway, he was arrested by officers of the Skiathos Port Police. Anyway, the dog's body was found tied to an iron pole that was in the sea in the area of Agios Georgios. It's reported that the dog actually belonged to a young woman that the perpetrator knew. Anyway, the man was transferred to the central town of Volos, and he is obviously facing trial there. Once again, Greece, just within the last few weeks, has changed some of its animal cruelty laws, which are very tough now on people that are caught doing animal cruelty on animals, and a good thing as well. I know Mike at the moment is tuning in because there's lots of issues now with Brexit about now getting stray animals now out of Greece and getting them back to homes, not only in the UK but also in Germany and Holland. A lot of strays would go there as well, and at the moment there's a big question mark hanging over the future of a lot of animal charities here that have been doing a lot of very good work, and Mike is one of those in trying to find homes for animals. But at least anyway, Greece has improved its animal cruelty laws, and people who do get caught being cruel to animals do at the moment, it's early days, but the law does seem to be now to favour the animal rather than the owner or the person doing the violence against an animal. Anyway, that's the news for this morning. Let's just have a quick look, see who's tuning in. And as I'm talking now, it's getting very cloudy and very dull at the moment. So let's just have a quick look who's tuning in. Also, quick see what Amanda, I think I read Amanda's weather forecast. Anyway, Lindsay Lamb is watching in. Nice to see you here. Barry in Essex is tuning in as well. Julie Meldrum is tuning in. Amanda is watching, obviously. And she says, morning, Ginge, cloudy, sunny intervals, highs of 18, I remember now. A sharp, pleasant breeze, have a good day. It is a bit of a sharp breeze at the moment, and it's a little bit, it's just getting a little bit chilly. Paul Mason says, morning, mate, what's your gut feeling on the season this year? My gut feeling on the season is this. I think we will have a season. I'm hoping with everything that's going on. I know Britain at the moment is not allowed anything until after maybe the 17th of May. The Germans are here, supposedly, from the 3rd of May. Other nationalities are also here, roundabout. So for me personally, I know at some point I will go back to work. And it will probably be maybe the second week of May, as long as the Brits are coming, all right? We're surrounded where Magdalena's bar is by Dutch hotels. We haven't heard anything about what's happening with the Dutch. So we may open a bit earlier because of that demographic. We did that last year. We had Dutch, we had Polish, we had a few Austrian and German, and we just basically had a very different demographic. Obviously, you change to suit the demographic. A lot of German music, a lot of Dutch music, Dutch karaoke, and do you know what? I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. It was interesting, and we coped, and we were still busy despite the fact we didn't have our normal demographic. As obviously, once the Brits all turned up, we still had to wait for them to arrive. It wasn't as if it was an instant. All of a sudden, they were there. Things had to build up. But by the end of, because don't forget, we actually didn't start until the second week of July last year. So I'm fingers crossed we won't be in the same position this year. But I think we could be up and running, personally, from my own perspective, up from maybe the second week of May, depending on what the other nations will do. If the other nations do come early, and we're really looking at the Dutch market at the moment, if they do come round about just after the beginning of May, I think we will be up and running. But I think we will have a season. I think it will go on. You've got to remember, we've got more flights coming this year. Also, holiday companies, Jet2 and also, EasyJet, they've extended their seasons slightly. More for some of the southern parts of Greece. That's not really us. That's more Crete and those areas. However, who's to say that it will not. We will have a bit of a longer season in comparison to last year. To be honest, we're an island who could slowly go into a more extended season. It's whether we want that season or not. But at the moment, everybody's desperate to make more money to get ready, for another winter when it comes around. And it will be good if we can do extra time just to make sure that we make the money ready for the winter. Because what you got to remember, there's a cycle here of boom and bust, which is great for us. Other parts of Greece don't have this. We're very fortunate that we do. Plus, another thing that we have here in Zakynthos, which people tend to forget, is we've got a market that is right across the board. We've got people who come here who will think nothing of spending 7,000 or 8,000 euros a week to stay in a villa. We have that top end market. Pelagoni Club, north end of the island. Lots of very OOs go up there from the UK who like to go up there. It's discreet, it's quiet. They spend a lot of money up there, and they are top end clients. We then have the bucket and spade holiday as well. So we've got tourism right across the board, where other islands aren't so much like that. I would say Kefalonia is not bucket and spade. It tries to be in the middle in regards to tourism. It doesn't encourage tourism in the same way that Zakynthos would do. If you look at Mykonos, Santorini and those locations, they are very expensive islands. And that means that their customer base can be very, very limited in that they're looking at top-end clients, top-end people. And with the cruise industry at the moment, all in a bit of a disarray. I know Santorini, I did that many a time while working on cruise lines. Mykonos as well. They kind of rely on these big ships coming in for a day, bringing 5,000 to 10,000 people in one go who come in and then they disappear away again at night, leaving it back to the locals. So those kind of places are going to be feeling the pinch this year, I think more so than what we will. Zakynthos actually at the moment, I think, has had a real renaissance in the last 10 years that I've certainly been here. It's now better well known. Also, you've got to remember that last year, according to Jet2, Zakynthos had a 40% increase in tourism, okay? Despite what was going on, despite all the issues and all the problems with the seasons being cut short, etc., Zakynthos had been growing and growing and growing. And last year, we had that blip. But anyway, we were still growing. So, yeah, I actually have a good feeling for it for this year. And once again, if you're going to book a holiday, start booking. Please remember when you do book, one, don't use a debit card. Use a credit card, because let your credit card company fight it out with the holiday company if they decide to not, if there's a problem and they decide not to. Also as well, make sure that when you do book as well, and if your holiday did get cancelled for whatever reason, do not take vouchers. Try and move your date to another date as well, all right, so that you can still take your holiday and you will still get your money back if you then decide you want your money back, all right? And the last thing as well, make sure that you get an APTA company that you're doing your booking with. If it's not APTA, don't do it. And there are a couple of companies here who are not APTA covered and people are booking holidays with them here, okay? Please don't do it. Go and book with an APTA covered company so that if anything untoward does happen, you're not going to be left in the lurch, all right? So anyway, thanks for that question, Paul. I hope some people are feeling a lot better about that. I can already see comments coming later down. Rosewood is watching. Barry's watching. Foggy day, he says, in Essex at the moment. Bless you. Well, you're sending it this way, mate. That's why. Paul Mason, Andy Holness is watching. Reg Vardy's watching as well. Nice to see you tuning in, Reg. Sue Dickinson is watching. Reg says, morning, Ginge. Lorna Garnett says, morning, Ginge. Amanda Gregory says, bad night with the pups last night. Oh, bless. Poorly and subdued. If no change this afternoon, emergency vet it will be. Well, good luck with the emergency vet, and I hope the little pups are going to be okay. Bless them. They look absolute little tinkers, they do. Julie Stevens is watching as well. There's lots of talk about the puppies at the moment. George Exonopolis is also tuning in as well. Nice to have you tuning in as well. Julie Meldron, happy Sunday, everyone. Yeah, happy Sunday, bless you. Steve Hinklin says, Gallimera looks a bit, looks like being a nice day here again today, although it's a bit frosty. Oh, bless you. He's up in Stoke-on-Trent, by the way, if anybody's wondering. Susie Angus is also watching as well. Nice to see you, Susie. John Spooner is watching. Nice to see you as well. Paul Armstrong is also tuning in. Rachel Hanson is tuning in. Rachel says, morning. Sean Webb, Raffridge Buddy, tuning in. Nice to see you here, fella. As also Wiggy Winstanley, the ambassador for Wigan over there in Cyprus. Just to remind you, don't forget, I've got my Northern Soul show going out on beatsradio.co.uk. That's going out at 5 o'clock UK time till 7 o'clock, which is 7 o'clock Greek time till 9 o'clock here. But anyway, so 5 o'clock, come and join us. I will be hovering around in the chat room. The show is recorded because obviously it's difficult to do a live link up. And enjoy the show. And thank you, Wiggy. You get a big mention as well in the show this week. And for your musical suggestions as well, which I always enjoy a good musical suggestion, all right? Kevin Bell's watching as well. Rainey Mitchell is watching it. Oh, no, Rihanna Mitchell is watching it. Nice to have you here. That's a new name. Wiggy says morning. Mike Glatney says, typical Zakynthos. We've already covered that. Mike Glackley is watching. Yeah. Heather Flynn is watching. Peter Dyer. Good morning, Ginge. All looking in. Phil Ellis is watching. Brian Slinger is watching as well. Brian says, morning, buddy. Freezing here in Lancashire, but it's sunny. Nothing like a crisp morning, is there? Bob Cave down there in Oxford is tuning in as well. Nice to see you watching in, buddy. Susan Walden is looking in. Katrina Ling is watching in. John Mims is looking in as well. Nice to see you, big firm. Pam Stott is watching. Nice to see you tuning in as well, Pam. And Lorna Gannett says, let's hope that 40% increase comes back this year. Yes, let's hope it does. We need this more so than ever, especially with all the businesses that have been taking a mega hit. And also, don't forget, Greek businesses haven't been bailed out like a lot of people have been bailed out in the UK, all right? And again, it is survival of the fittest here. It's dog eat dog to a big degree, and hopefully we'll get back to some remnants of normality for the summer, because I know people like Chris Baxter, who's tuning in at the moment, they're going to need that as well, all right? And we just want to get back to a normal season where we knew where we stood and all we did was rested ourselves and look forward to the start of a new season. Anyway, Lorna Garnt is chatting away to Chris Baxter. I hope everything's cool with you. Chris, no word on when you're able to get back. Paul Mason says, thanks, mate. We're booked for late June and early September. There you go. We should be up and burning by then, fella, and we should be back. And you probably might get some. You might get some good deals as well for around about that time. Tim Crystal, our Elvis, is watching. Maureen round the corner is watching as well. She said the turkey is still in the freezer. You've had that turkey. They invited us for dinner one time. They were going to do us a turkey, but unfortunately we had all the lockdown and everything else going on. So they hung on to that turkey. Do you know what? As soon as we're allowed to get together, trust me, we'll be around for your turkey, all right? We'll look forward to that. Right, I'm going to have to bang it on the head there. Thank you to everybody that's tuning in at the moment. I don't want to keep blabbering on and on and on. We'll see what today brings. Normally on a Sunday, Jane and I do our little walk around the area on our exercise bit. And we will see what we probably will do that before the rain comes, if we do get any rain. I'm hoping we don't get any rain. We've had enough water being layered on the grass and everything else. It'd be just nice to have a little bit more sunshine and feel that we're getting closer to the summer. We're also getting closer to hopefully getting out of lockdown as well. But we shall wait and see how that transpires. And anyway, I'll keep my ear to the ground. You have a good day wherever you might be in the world, and I'll catch you later. And don't forget, tune in to the Northern Soul Show, 5 o'clock UK time till 7 on beatsradio.co.uk. And I'll catch you later. Ta-ra.